Order, honorable members. I would like to announce to you, or to the House as a whole, the appointment of Honorable H.S. Boshoff, owing to the resignation of Honorable Manzini. I take this opportunity to welcome the honorable member and wish her well as a member of the National Council of Provinces. Is Mr. Boshoff here? Not here. Okay.
Apologies to the Chief Whip's office.
Okay. All right. I now welcome all of you in the first sitting of the National Council of Provinces. Thank you very much. Does any member wish to give notice of a motion? I've forgotten, some of you remember, you've been on long holiday. Honorable Mufokeng.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby give notice that in the next sitting of Council, I shall move that the Council notes with utmost concern the images taken by a French press agency, AFP photographer, Marco Longari, showing young people with red beret on the back of a van branded with the name of a novice political party of disgruntled members who are led by people who have fired from the ANC for ill discipline, offloading tires to be burnt in a violent protest in Hebron near Pretoria. Acknowledges that these images further prove the public concern that many of the public protests that were experienced in our country lately were not largely about service delivery concerns, but fueled by people who intend to create perception about service delivery crisis. Takes this opportunity to condemn in the harshest possible terms any attempt by individuals who mobilize and bully communities to engage in public protest and burn public property. I so move.
Honorable West.
Honourable Chairperson, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby wish to give notice that at the next sitting of the Council it notes that, firstly, water supplies to Bloemfontein in the Mangaung Metro in the Free State have been disrupted over the past few months. Secondly, the Mangaung Metro stated that 2 sluice gates at Mockie's Dam had been blocked by debris and mud, tree branches and large stones restricting the amount of water that could flow into the Marselspoort Weir. Thirdly, the ageing water infrastructure and lack of maintenance with regard to water pumps and purification systems needs urgent attention. Lastly, the city needs a long-term solution, such as a pipeline that will bring water from the Gerib Dam or the Katsi Dam in Lesotho. This will be a costly exercise, but the only solution in the long term. I so move.
Honorable Makubela.
I've forgotten my note. It is a wrong one, this one. Thanks.
Okay, Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I hereby give notice that in the next sitting of the Council, I shall move that the Council notes with concern the false and misleading claims by the Democratic Alliance in social media and public statements. The DA claimed municipalities has created 31,000 job opportunities in the past year, and that the City of Cape Town delivers more to poor residents than any other party. Notes, however, that website Africa Check, a reliable and reputable organization that investigates claims by politicians and checks it against the facts, has found that the DA could not back up its claim, while a senior DA spokesperson admitted having been unable to track down sources to back up the claims, and in fact that no one could give any concrete information, and there is a clear systematic deficiency of information management in the DA. Notes that this reveals the political bankruptcy of the DA and the extent to which the DA is prepared to blatantly mislead and lie to the public in the desperation for votes. I take this opportunity to call on the DA to become politically matured and to stop its cheap political engineering and its lust for publicity, and to take the public in its confidence and inform them about the true facts. I so move.
Honorable Chane.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby give notice that in the next sitting of the Council, I shall move that the Council notes with shock and concern the report by the Auditor General revealing that the Western Cape has spent an exorbitant amount of 10.3 billion on rents on consultants over the period of 3 years from 2008 to 2011. Also notes attempts now by the DA to put a different spin on the finding of the AG. Firstly, the DA attempts to shift the blame to the ANC while the DA loses the sight of the fact that the DA was in control of the Western Cape for 2 of the 3 years in question. Secondly, the DA leader, Mrs. Helen Zille, not only attempts to soften and disguise the DA's failure and his spending on consultants, but she also blames the Auditor General by criticizing his definition of consultants as if the definition jeopardizes her province, while she again loses sight of the fact that the same definition applies to all provinces and in fact to all government in all spheres. Acknowledges that this spending by the Western Cape is the highest of all provinces and calls on the DA to take responsibility for its exorbitant use of the consultants and the shocking spending in that regard and to stop looking for excuses or for someone else to blame for its failures. I so move, Chair.
Honorable members, does any member wish to move a motion without notice? I can't hear you, honorable member. But your hand was not up. You were outside. No, I've passed the motions, the notice of motions. Can we carry on with a motion without notices? Honorable Mube.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I hereby move without notice that the Council notes that His Excellency President Jacob Zuma has announced the 7th of May 2014 as the date for the national and provincial elections and takes this opportunity to thank all South Africans who have registered to vote and all the ANC volunteers who continue to work selflessly to preach the message of hope, to continue in our national task, to work together to move South Africa forward. I so move.
Any objection to the motion? In the light of the objection, the motion may not be proceeded with. The motion without notice will become a notice of a motion. Honorable Nesi.
Honorable Chair, on behalf of the ANC, I hereby move without notice that the Council notes the conviction of 5 heartless criminals for brutal killing of Constable Xoli Sapanga while she was on her way to the Philippi police station in March 2012. Further notes that Abongile Mndamante, Zuko Sizane, Onke Mtwalo, Mandla Kembali, and Odwa Matomane would be sentenced on the 26th February. And takes this opportunity to welcome the sentencing of these heartless criminals who have demonstrated no sense of regard for the rule of law and congratulate the police and the justice system for ensuring that these criminals face the full might of the law and completely be removed from our society. I so move.
Any objection to the motion? Agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Matile.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move without notice that the Council notes that following protests against alleged corrupt municipal officials in Madibeng local municipality, as well as the findings of an investigation last year by the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs that revealed corruption, fraud, and maladministration in the municipality, the provincial government of the Northwest has declared the municipality dysfunctional and placed it under administration last Monday. Further notes that a task team consisting of the Office of the Premier and various provincial departments has since launched an investigation into service delivery challenges in the area. Welcomes the decision and swift action of the Premier and her government in their commitment to uncover corruption and to institute criminal and other steps against officials, councillors, and service providers involved without fear and favor, and takes this opportunity to call on all councillors to cooperate and to put the interest of the community first and ensure that the municipality is turned around successfully. I so move, Chair.
Any objection to the motion? Agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Oshodi.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chairperson. I hereby move without notice that the Council notes with a great concern the suspicion of 17 officials at Dr. George Mukari Academic Hospital in Garangkua, Gauteng on Thursday, the 13th of February 2014. Further notes that the officials from different sections of the hospital were suspended of selling jobs and appointing their family members and friends into position in order to reach themselves. Take this opportunity to commend the Gauteng Provincial Health Department for heeding to the call to demonstrate zero tolerance against nepotism and corruption in the public service, and call upon all service servants, including organized labor, to join hands with government in the fight against any form of corruption in the civil servant. I so move.
Any objection to the motion? Agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Makatla.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hereby move without notice that the Council notes with profound sadness and shock the untimely death of Honorable Ben Skosana, who was a stalwart and veteran founding member of the Inkatha Freedom Party and selfless veteran member of Parliament. Further notes that Tate Skosana, as he was affectionately known, served with diligence to his work and serving the people of South Africa until his untimely death. Honorable Skosana played a significant role in the transformation of South Africa's prison system from apartheid era death camps to correction, rehabilitation, and reintegration centers based on human rights values. At the time of his death, he was Parliament's House Chairperson for internal arrangements, through which he championed the task of building the capacity and well-being of members of Parliament, ensuring they have better support services and health to enhance their capacity to serve the people, and takes this opportunity to convey its profound condolences to the Skosana family and his party and wishes them strength in his difficult times. I so move, Chair.
Any objection to the motion? Agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Makate.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I hereby move without notice that the Council notes with concern that more than 4 weeks into the school year, between 800 and 1,100 people in Mitchell's Plain in Cape Town have yet to be placed at schools. Notes that despite this alarming and shocking state of affairs, the Western Cape Education Department has not come up with a solution or provided an insight where these learners would be placed. While the MEC for Education, Donald Grant, who at his appointment to this portfolio publicly stated that he knows nothing about education and who is so desperately attempted to close schools last year, remains silent. Further notes with concern that the Provincial Education Department, while admitting that it was aware of the demand and lack of space at schools, has clearly failed to fulfill its constitutional mandate or to plan properly and to build new schools timely or to provide additional accommodation to these learners in the interim, and acknowledges that this state of affairs deprives these learners of their constitutional right to basic education, and take this opportunity to call on the Minister of Basic Education to come to the rescue of these learners and their parents and to intervene as a matter of urgency. I so move.
Any objection to the motion? Agreed to in terms of section 65. Is there an objection? In light of the objection, the motion may not be proceeded with. The motion without notice will now become a notice of a motion. Honorable Charles de Beer.
I hereby move, Honourable Chairperson, a motion without notice that the Council notes with concern that many learners in Kimberley, but not only in Kimberley, in the rest of the Northern Cape Province, are going hungry after the school feeding schemes at fee-paying schools came to an end recently. Notes that many of the learners of these schools are from disadvantaged and poor households, with most of them only receiving one meal a day, being the meal that they receive at the school. Notes that while feeding schemes for fee-paying schools cannot be funded by the National Schools Nutrition Program or from the conditional grant funding, the provincial government has in the interim embarked on a reduced allocation for qualifying fee-paying schools and are funding feeding schemes from such schools from the province's equitable share budget. This has, however, placed enormous pressure on the other priority areas, and therefore takes this opportunity to call on the Minister of Basic Education as well as the National Treasury to urgently intervene and to reintroduce school feeding schemes for qualifying fee-paying schools and to provide appropriate funding. Therefore, I so move, Chairperson.
Any objection to the motion? Agreed to in terms of section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Nyambi, if you are short, I can take another 3 people. Otherwise, time for question, you are left with only 3 minutes.
Thanks, Chair. I hereby move without notice that the Council note with shock and concern that a murder accused of Gapogweni in Mpumalanga, who are facing 2 counts of murder, a charge of robbery, and 2 charges of possession of unlicensed firearm and ammunition, was released on warning last week in the Magistrates Court following his arrest at his hiding place after a tip-off. Note that this state of affairs has the potential of undermining the confidence of the community in the police and the criminal justice process, as well as the morale of the police who work hard and often risk their lives to bring crime suspects to book. Knows that although everyone remains innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, the nature of the charges against the accused and also him having been on the run and hiding from the police shall be necessitated a different approach during his bail application. Take this opportunity to support the concern of the MEC for community safety of Mpumalanga on this state of affairs, and in particular his call on the Provincial Commissioner of Police and the Prosecuting Authority to urgently review the release of the accused. I so move.
Any objection to the motion? Agreed to in terms of section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable Mashile.
Thanks, Chairperson. I hereby move without notice that the Council note with utter repulsion a video showing 2 of the so-called Vaderklo 4 party in the Kgoshi-Mampuru prison, while also showing off their cell phones, smoking cigarette, and drinking liquor in a cell equipped with a zinc, a table with a computer on it, and a pot plant with a heart-shaped leaves. Further notes that Christoph Berger, Friggy Dupree, Gert van Skalkwyk, and Reina Tiet were released on parole last week after serving half of their sentences for brutally assaulting a homeless man to death in Pretoria in 2001. Takes this opportunity to condemn in the harshest possible terms this blatant flaunting of the Correctional Services Act and anything else that the Department of Correctional Services stands for, and calls on the Minister of Correctional Services to ensure that the investigation that's currently underway is completed with urgency, and that anyone who is found to have flaunted the rules of the department is dealt with very harshly. Should the parolees found to have flouted their conditions, they should be taken back for their remaining sentence. I so move. Thank you.
Honorable members, I shall not put a decision on this question because there has been a commission formed to investigate the case, and we will deal with the matter when the commission has dealt with. So I'm not putting a decision on that motion. Honorable Boroto.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I hereby move without notice that the Council notes that President Jacob Zuma delivered his State of the Nation address last week, Thursday, reiterating that South Africa is a much better place to live in now than it was in 1994. Further notes that since the dawn of democracy in 1994, South Africa has been able to overcome all that pain of the past and build a new society, build strong institutions of democracy, buried the undemocratic, unrepresentative, oppressive and corrupt state that was serving a minority and created a thriving constitutional democracy with well-functioning arms of the state, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And take this opportunity to welcome the 2014 State of the Nation of Address and acknowledge that South Africa truly has a good story to tell. I so move.
Any objection to that motion? In the light of the objection, the motion may not be proceeded with. The motion without notice will now become a notice without a motion. The last person, Honorable Mokoro, you are the last to move a motion without notice.
Thank you, Chair. Motion without notice. I hereby move without notice that the Council notes with utter contempt the vicious and relentless cyber-bullying and vilification of Honorable Tandile Sunduza because of her weight and the dress she wore during the State of the Nation address last week. Further note that Ms. Sunduza was admitted to a hospital in Johannesburg after collapsing at the OR Tambo Airport last week, and her doctors have placed her under strict medical supervision, taking into account that she is in advanced stage with her pregnancy. Take this opportunity to condemn in strongest possible terms this utter senseless bullying of Ms. Sunduza as nothing but crass sexism and gender objectification of women. I so move.
Any objection to the motion? No, the motion is agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable members, we now come to the motion on the order paper as printed in the name of the Chief Whip. Honorable Acting Chief Whip.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I want to move a motion that the Council, notwithstanding Rule 2381, which provides inter alia that all bills introduced in the Council and which have not yet been passed by the Council when it rises on the last day of any annual session lapses, revives the Public Administration Management Bill, B55-2013, National Council of Provinces. Thank you. I so move, Chair.
As there is no speaker's list, I shall now put the question. The question is that the motion be agreed to. As the decision is dealt with in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution, I shall first ascertain whether all delegation heads are present in the chamber to cast their provincial votes. Are you all present? Yes, in accordance with Rule 7.1, I shall first allow provinces the opportunity to make their declaration of vote if they so wish. Any province that wish to do so? None. We proceed with the voting. I shall do so alphabetically per province. Heads of delegation will indicate to the chair. We'll do it manually because at times your IT system is giving us a problem. Those in favor will then say in favor, those against, and those who abstain will abstain. Eastern Cape. Can you make the microphone so that we record that, please? In favor. Free State? Voted how? Yeah, what did you vote? In favor. Gauteng?
I voted, the machine is working, in favor.
Okay, KZN?
In favor, Chair.
In favor, Limpopo. Limpopo. Kotenda, Mpumalanga.
In favor.
In favor, Northern Cape.
Voted, Chair.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor, Northwest.
In favor, Chair.
In favor, Western Cape. Pardon? Can you be recorded, Mr. De Villiers?
Stemtiende, Chairperson.
You voted
against.
Against.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Against. Northwest, have you voted also electronically?
Yes.
Just you have got a right according to the rules to re-vote because you have voted differently on the screen. Is it correct now? Okay. 8 provinces voted in favor. I therefore declare the motion agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. The Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Consideration of Special Economic Zones Bill B3D 2013 and of Report of Select Committee on Trade and International Relations thereon.
Minister, you're welcomed in the NCOP. It's now your time to deliver your speech.
Thank you, Chairperson, honourable members. The Special Economic Zone, that is Zones Bill that is being tabled today, aims to support broad-based industrialisation, balanced regional industrial growth, and the development of more competitive and productive regional economies. Special economic zones may be defined as geographically designated areas of a country set aside for specifically targeted economic activities, supported through special arrangements and systems that are often different from those that apply in the rest of the country. Up to now in South Africa, we have had only one form of special economic zone, the industrial development zones that have operated under the Manufacturing Development Act of 2000. To date, 5 industrial development zones have been designated. These are Coega, East London, Richards Bay, OR Tambo, and Saldanha Bay. The recently designated Saldanha Bay Industrial Development Zone, which was launched in October 2013, has already attracted 8 investors, 6 of whom have signed up in the oil and gas services sector. 3 of the remaining 4 IDZs, namely Coega, East London, and Richards Bay, are fully operational. Combined, they are hosting 42 operational investments with a value of 4 billion rand, which have created over 5,000 direct jobs and 43,000 jobs in construction. Despite these achievements, some weaknesses in the implementation were identified during the IDZ policy review. These included weak governance arising in many cases from unclear mandates of different structures involved, the lack of industrial development zone incentives, poor stakeholder coordination, and a lack of integrated planning. More importantly, the criteria for IDZ designation meant that IDZs were restricted to ports, airports, and coastal regions and were not available to assist in realizing the economic potential in other parts of the country. IDZs by nature cater for export-orientated industries, and closeness to a sea or an airport becomes a strategic consideration for logistical purposes. Due to these identified weaknesses, the program could not assist other parts of the country to unlock long-term development potential in regions that had this potential, and they could not, therefore, reverse the tendency well established towards economic concentration in our country. The DTI therefore identified the SEZ program, which will be brought into existence by the passage of this bill. Besides serving as an enabler to more effective regulation of all SEZs, including IDZs, which are one category of special economic zone, the bill proposes broadening the scope of SEZs to include categories other than IDZs that will, of course, though, still remain one of the forms of special economic zones. The intention is that SEZs will focus and support the manufacture of value-added products. Once designated, it is expected that SEZs will have strong backward and forward linkages with other sectors in their localities, building and strengthening localization through supply development programs, which is a departure from the traditional SEZ model where SEZs existed as isolated enclaves. Special economic zones are, of course, just one of many policy tools available to government in its drive to support industrialization. SEZs, though, offer a potentially valuable tool to overcome some of the existing constraints in developing industrial capabilities, in attracting investments and growing exports. The aim of the bill before the Council this afternoon is to boost private investment, both domestic and foreign, in labour-intensive areas to increase job creation, competitiveness, skills development and technology transfer, as well as the export of beneficiated products. The bill builds on the experience that we've gained from the IDZ program and introduces a number of new measures that take into consideration inputs that were made in the consultation processes. The bill will introduce a variety of special economic zones to cater for the various socio-economic and regional spatial planning considerations of the different spheres of government. In particular, the bill provides for the designation of the following types of SEZs: free ports, free trade zones, industrial development zones, and sector development or specialized zones. By making it possible to have different categories of special economic zones, we aim to address the previous challenges experienced within the IDZ program, allowing for the tailoring of individual SEZ strategies to fit with the individual needs and demands of the region concerned. The SEZ Bill consultative process started in 2010 with all relevant stakeholders across the three spheres of government, as well as relevant interested public entities. The bill was also discussed in the Economic MINMEC, which has also been working on pre-feasibility studies on 10 potential SEZs, at least one per province. Cabinet approved the bill for public consultation in December 2011. NEDLAC consultations were finished in October 12, and the bill was introduced into Parliament in March 2013. It passed through hearings in the Portfolio Committee, and then it was tabled in the National Assembly last year. In the NCOP process, the bill was presented to 8 of the 9 provincial legislatures at 16 provincial public hearing meetings. It's received overwhelming support from the provinces and the society at large. All of this has resulted in further improvements in the formal regulatory framework supporting the SEZ program. Furthermore, extensive regional and international benchmark studies have been conducted to determine an appropriate package of support measures for the SEZ program. And the following measures are being put in place or are being considered to enhance South Africa's SEZ value proposition. They include an SEZ tax incentive strategy, which will allow 15% corporate tax, a building tax allowance, an employment tax incentive, customs control area with VAT exemption and duty-free, and an accelerated 12I tax allowance. It includes an enhanced funding strategy, which will include the establishment of a comprehensive SEZ fund with a mix of funding instruments, private-public partnership arrangements, and so on. It will include an infrastructure strategy to accommodate bulk infrastructure requirements through an SEZ fund and other contributions. There will be a skills and supplier development program worked out with the DTI and relevant partners to provide support programs in these particular areas for SEZs. There will be a one-stop shop strategy to reduce bureaucracy and red tape of government approvals and applications, providing a single point of investor contact which will be implemented within each SEZ. This one-stop shop platform aims to reduce information search and transaction costs for investors located in the SEZs, aims to facilitate their acquisition of permits and licenses, to reduce the steps in approvals, and to provide a more effective and sustainable investor aftercare service. The DTI is in the process of finalizing the model that will see this roll out soon. The SEZ tax incentive offering has already been announced by the Minister of Finance and will ensure that we are able to provide an investment environment that competes effectively with other locations in the world. These incentives will become effective on the enactment of the SEZ bill. We are currently preparing for the implementation of the SEZ bill by consulting with all provinces on potential SEZs. As a result, as I said earlier, together we have commissioned a number of pre-feasibility studies, which means that when the bill is passed, we won't have to spend an inordinate amount of time because we've already done some of the preparatory work on the designation of potential SEZs. It is thus imperative that this bill is expeditiously considered in order to take advantage of the huge imminent interest and opportunity which it will create. The Council's support for the bill will be greatly appreciated. I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to the Select Committee on Trade and International Relations and the provinces that worked on this particular bill and ensured not only that it was completed within a short space of time, but ensured also that there was a good quality piece of work that came out of the process. The committee's contribution in this regard has been invaluable, and I would like, therefore, to salute its chairperson, Mr. Gumede. My thanks also go to the DTI team for their hard work in rolling out this piece of legislation. I have pleasure in commending this bill to the National Council of Provinces. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Abrahams.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister, Honourable Members, Honourable Gallery Guest. Honourable Chairperson, the SEZ Bill sets out the legal framework for the designation of specific geographic areas as special economic zones. The hope is that the SEZ will attract new domestic and foreign investment into our country and more jobs will be created. The success of the SEZ strategy depends on the attractiveness of the incentives offered, though the legislation does not outline what incentives will be available. And we can only hope that the correct environment for investment will be created. The bill only sets out the process of formation of SEZs and how investors may locate their companies within the SEZs. The bill states that the developer may appoint any public or private entity to operate the SEZ. The bill allows for the establishment of public entities to develop SEZs such as national governments, departments, provincial and local municipalities. Local and provincial governments will be able to apply to the Minister to delegate incentives offered by the national government, but can also delegate their own SEZs and offer their own incentives. Honourable Chairperson, this is an important piece of legislation which paves the way for South Africa's first coordinated and incentive-driven SEZ strategy. We hope that this will strengthen the role of local and provincial governments. Any business seeking to locate in an SEZ must seek approval from the Special Economic Zone Board. Each SEZ is governed and managed by the Board of Directors. The bill confirms that the designated IDZs will become SEZs. There will be special tax reduction for employees working in special economic zones. Restrictions around the location of special economic zones have been removed. This allows that SEZs in underdeveloped and rural areas where there are untouched economic growth and potential for opportunities of employment. Each SEZ will be unique to the needs of the region and its location, which we hope will help in attracting targeted investments. This bill has the potential to create more opportunities for unemployed people to be employed. This would also allow locals not to migrate to other provinces, but be employed within their provinces. By providing jobs, this bill could restore pride and dignity to the unemployed, as well as achieving self-sustainability in rural areas. Jobs allow independence from reliance on government grants and enable a self-determined lifestyle. In all provinces, project steering committees and oversight committees have been established. Honourable Chairperson, if implemented correctly, the SEZ bill would assist in alleviating poverty in South Africa, but skills development still needs to take place. It is not the SEZ that would automatically create skilled people. People need to be given the opportunity to be developed, and South Africa will not have to need to import imported skills. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Kamete.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister and honorable members. South Africa and all South Africans, and especially all provinces, should be celebrating today, that we are finally passing the Special Economic Zones Bill. Well, as it has been said, the main purpose of this government has been to accelerate industrialization for economic development. This bill now empowers the minister to establish Special Economic Zones Fund, something that was not there before. The purpose of the bill is to develop infrastructure to support development of targeted industrial activities per province. It also promotes regional development. As it has been mentioned by the minister, you all know that great minds think alike. The following tax incentives have been approved. 15% corporate tax for investors in SEZs, building tax allowance, the accelerated 12I tax allowance, employment tax incentive, VAT exemption, and duty-free. Really, we are moving South Africa forward. Chairperson, Minister, however, we as a committee raised the issue of municipalities in general being eligible for designation, taking into account the task they have on service delivery. Even though this was explained thoroughly, but we still persisted raising this issue. Chairperson, one province that will benefit from this bill, if we pass it today, it will be KwaZulu-Natal. We already have the Dube Trade Port that is ready to roll and function as of tomorrow. Chairperson, the committee has also raised the issue that in order for us to move faster with transformation, mostly the historically disadvantaged individuals and groups must benefit from being owners of licenses. This will assist us in speedily transforming our country so that our economy is shared by every citizen in the country. As it has been mentioned, provinces, as we represent the NCOP, can have one or either of these two. They can have a free port if they have a port. They can have a free trade zone. They can have an industrial development zone. And they can also have a sector development zone. And that all these categories can be prescribed by the minister. Really, we are moving South Africa forward. A number of issues have been covered by the minister, and my detachment is ready also to talk. I'll say, Chairperson, we want to thank the department, the DG, and all his officials, including Saroj, for availing themselves each time we call them. We therefore recommend that the House adopts this bill with a big smile. I thank you.
Honorable Maile.
Thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Minister, members of the Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry, honorable members of the House, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, greetings to all of you. It gives me great pleasure to represent the province of Gauteng on this important piece of legislation that will shape the economic landscape of our country. I am grateful to be part of this important work that will assist in addressing the triple challenges that confronts our country, which is unemployment, poverty, and inequality. As the province of Gauteng, we support the bill in its current form precisely because it attempts to address the challenges that our people are confronted with on a daily basis. As Gauteng, we believe that this bill will support reindustrialization so that the provinces and the regions can regain their comparative and competitive advantages around manufacturing, inward investments, export promotion, research and development. And it furthermore increases the provincial stock of productive infrastructure with the incentives and financial set-asides that come into effect when the bill is enacted. The regions will thus become resuscitated economically, creating much-needed jobs. As provinces, we stand to benefit from designation of SEZs, given that we will have a share on the incentives that come with such a status. We believe that the enactment of the SEZ Act will unlock the resources for the provision of world-class productive infrastructure built through SEZ fund support and reindustrialization through clustering. Through centralized marketing, spearheaded by Trade and Investment South Africa, that is codified in the SEZ bill, all the provinces will have an added benefit arising from international marketing of SEZ industrial parks. The provision of the SEZ Act will lead to the strengthening of sectoral competitive advantage of regions and ring-fenced job creation, skills and technology transfer. We also support the bill's assertion that provincial stakeholders must be consulted before submitting a proposal for designation to the Department of Trade and Industry, as this reduces tensions as well as separate development. We are mindful of the fact that all the powers to designate, to issue operating licenses, to operate in the SEZ space, appropriate funding resides with the Minister of Trade and Industry. This function is performed in consultation with the SEZ board. We do support that assertion. In conclusion, as we have alluded before, we are unable to see any provision of the bill that will negatively affect Gauteng province economically and otherwise. We believe that this SEZ Act will benefit the province and the regions to the extent of creating new growth trajectory. We as the province of Gauteng therefore support the bill in its current form. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Sinclair.
Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Minister, strengthening the South African industrial base and promoting a labour-absorbing industrial plan necessitates a new approach that will increase foreign direct investment. This approach is the purpose of the special economic zones. It is an economic tool to promote national economic growth and export by using support measures in order to attract targeted foreign and domestic investments and technology. The economic impact of the SEZ is well represented in a comprehensive study conducted by Jin Wan of the London School of Economics. Wang collected unique data of Chinese municipal economic statistics from 1978 to 2007 and used it to evaluate the impact of a SEZ experiment aimed at attracting foreign direct investment. Guided by three predictions from a theoretical model, it was concluded that the SEZ policy, firstly, increases per capita foreign direct investment by 58%, mainly in the form of foreign investment and export-orientated industrial enterprises. Secondly, Honourable Minister, does not crowd out domestic investment and domestically owned capital stock. And thirdly, improves total factor productivity growth rate by 0.6 percentage points. The results suggest that creating SEZs not only bring capital, but also more advanced technology and provide important policy implications for many developing countries. From 1979, China has gradually created SEZs in its municipalities with property rights protection, tax break, and a preferential land policy specifically for foreign investors. This SEZ experiment has transformed China into one of the largest FDI recipients, exporters, and foreign exchange reserves holders in the world. Where does this leave South Africa, and especially the underdeveloped rural poor and marginalized like the province that I represent, the Northern Cape. This legislation, Honourable Chairperson, can be a game changer if implemented correctly to increase the growth rate in South Africa substantially. One of the challenges that the Honourable Minister must address is the detail as envisaged in the SEZ strategy. Strategy indeed determines outcome. And here, Honourable Minister, I beg you not to implement a strategy like the Democratic Alliance and Agang did recently to do political fronting to acquire a suitable presidential candidate for the upcoming election. The DA initially presented the leader of Agang as a black knight on a white horse. They, it seems, very quickly realized the blunder. The strategy must include, inter alia, that the communities in and around the designated SEZs benefit substantially from this major economic injections and opportunities. The programs of government must not remain documented ideas and philosophies. It must be implemented. South Africa has enough plans. Let's do it. Localization and beneficiation must be the cornerstone of this strategy. It is further necessary to consider heterogeneous or mixed zones that will make it possible to have a multi-zone economic activity in place. That was the success of China and will also determine the success in South Africa. The Congress of the People supports the bill. I thank you, Honourable Chairman.
Order. Honourable Ranto.
Chairperson.
Okay, order, honourable members.
Members of this House, special delegates, guests, ladies and gentlemen, Honourable Minister, let me take this opportunity and say Happy New Year to all of you. I haven't seen you since last year. This is our first sitting of this August House after the passing away of our icon, Mr. Honorable Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela. May his soul rest in peace. And also this sitting is the first one after the SONA by our president that was reminding us of what the ANC has done the past 5 years of this administration. The president outlined all projects and bills passed in our term clearly, telling the people of South Africa our story, because really, as this government, we have a good story to tell. He acknowledged the fact that there is still a lot that needs to be done. There are a lot of laws that needs to be changed and be amended. Chairperson, this bill shows us the task that the economic cluster in the coming 5 years is facing. Our manifesto of 2014 to 2019 has outlined strategies to be followed on how to radically transform the economy and the democratic consolidation of this country. If you remember, Chairperson, in our 53rd conference in Mangaung in December 2012, our theme has outlined what needs to be done. If I may remind all of us, it was saying unity in action towards socio-economic freedom. The ANC has characterized the second phase of our transition as one of deepening economic transformation to eradicate poverty, create full-time employment, and reduce inequality. I think this bill is trying to address that exactly. We cannot run away from our past, as it will always remind us where we come from, especially us who got our education under Bantu education system, which was done purposely not to develop us mentally and that we will remain without skills. Hence, we are now faced with a challenge of lack of skills, unemployment, institutional capacity. Trying to build this back from 1652 up to 1994, it is impossible to do it in 20 years. There is a lot of damage done to us as Black South Africans. Chair, the objectives of the bill is stated clearly in Chapter 1 of the bill, all 6 of them. This should be everybody's business, in government as well as the private sector. Together we can move South Africa forward. Strategies to be set out needs to be more clear for an ordinary person on the ground. Keeping in mind our past, South Africa is regarded as a rich country because of its natural resources. Therefore, we can attract many investors in this country. As well as we are regarded as a rich country, but our people are very poor. There is a potential of economic growth, hence the attraction of foreign countries. If we can develop our infrastructure as it is dilapidating, and some are non-existent, we can win the battle of unemployment. Chair, everybody by now knows that I'm coming from Eastern Cape, and from Eastern Cape in Jo'qabi region. My region, Chair, is one of the rural, rich regions in Eastern Cape. In Chapter 2 of the bill, which talk about the purpose of the special economic zone and the promotion of regional development, which also means the linkage of or integration with provinces' growth strategies, local economic development of the host municipality, I think this bill is very relevant to my region. Therefore, Chair, there is no doubt about the necessity of SEZ in my area, because we have seen where it is implemented, the surrounding economy is energized. In Jo'qabi, this concept will flourish because this will be hard-pressed to a region that is more needy of a different strategy. The district municipality has commissioned a development agent, which is now 3 years old. For a formulation, it has commissioned the formulation of this development agency to do for the region the equivalent of what the region would get if it was deemed an SEZ. Mainly implementation of the strategy, high impact economic development project in an integrated and sustainable fashion. Asset development, management, and acquisition, allowing the development agency to take extract fees or acquire a stake in the development that it facilitates. Maximization of return on assets in the medium and long term, coordinating public, private, and civic resources, and contribution into projects and programs. This agency has a project that has attracted investors inside the country and abroad investors. We have a mine in Alwal North that is usually not recognized, Honorable Minister. But it cannot create a lot of, but by now it cannot create a lot of permanent jobs because there is a lack of technicians, engineers, and other relevant skills. If that mine can be used, it is called Alwal North, Alwal Spa. Kunjalo ndithunyiwe apha, ndithunyiwe ekhaya apha. By developing the Alwal North Spa, Honorable Minister, this can help in developing the skills in the area and the transfer of other skills that are most needed in the area. This bill talks about creating decent and other economic and social benefits in the regions, in the region in which it is located by promoting small, macro, and medium enterprises and cooperatives and promotion of skills and technology transfer. Therefore, Chair, this bill can be a reality in my region. The ANC supports this bill, Chairperson. In the Eastern Cape, this government has made it possible by establishing this big project like Kucha and East London IDZ, which is a good story to tell. because our people are able to acquire certain skills. Investors are looking for a moving government, which I think the ANC government is doing right now. We are moving, but we must do it together with those who do not want to move. I thank you, Chair. ANC supports this bill.
I'll now call upon Honorable Hosho.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Chairperson of the NCOP, Chief Whip, Minister of Department of Trade and Industry, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, Bahaichu Dumelang. The Northwest Province, as a platinum province, completed a study of our provincial economic landscape in 2011. This we did in response to the policy imperatives enjoining us to embark on economic growth path through vigorous implementation of industrialization programs. Ours is a regional economy experiencing acute structural imbalances, where the primary sector dominates in both contribution to GDP and employment, yet manufacturing remains low in both respects. To the extent that value-add manufacturing has the potential to propel growth and create jobs, our endeavor is to meet the goals of job creation, poverty alleviation, and eliminate inequality through deliverable intervention in this sector in particular. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, we are amongst the provinces that pursued industrial development zone strategy after we were convinced by not only the potential but also experience and evidence of other countries that chose this strategy. Many of these countries experience poverty reduction through high employment opportunities generated through manufacturing of exports and other intermediaries, in other words, strengthening productive capacities of their economies to compete with the rest of the countries. The Special Economic Zone Act will not only be an enabler to us, but a catalyst that would see our country diversifying the economy from mere suppliers of raw materials and net importers. We foresee an added acceleration of industrial development towards increasing a productive sector towards sustainable growth and creation of decent jobs. Thus also will bring a lot of innovation among our young people through skills development program, which will bring diversity in terms of innovative thinking and also respond to the need of scarce and critical skills. As a country in need of more than 5% growth, we cannot be seen not employing extraordinary measures, such as creation of special economic zones to attract foreign investment and increase export to meet our balance account performance that is so much important to a balanced currency level. The Northwest Province is no longer onlooker on these developments, as we stand to benefit if we contribute to the country agenda of beneficiation. We are the main source of platinum in the world and started a long time back in investigating possible platinum beneficiation activities in the province. At least we have found our niche, which has the impact across a spectrum of policies in our country. When we embark on the fuel cell manufacturing platinum group metals, PGM, is the major catalyst. As a major catalyst, not only shall we be creating jobs, but also realizing our own objectives in alternative energy requirements. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, we are embarking on platinum beneficiation sector development zone project that presents profound strategic merits for the Northwest Provincial Province communities, which has a local and global platinum mining and production comparative advantages, given that high technology platinum beneficiation is non-existent in the Northwest Province. This project aims to establish the platinum beneficiation sector development zone through the facilitation of general and specific research and industrial infrastructure, technical workforce, and business support services to support the technology development, pilot production, and testing, commercialization, and manufacturing of fuel cells. The same with other provinces. We cannot wait to obtain the operator permit that will have to be effected once this law has been promulgated. And then we have to answer to all and sundry that the government target of job creation is not a pipe dream, but a target real enough to be met. It is therefore our view as the Northwest Provincial Communities led by the ANC-led government to support the promulgation of the Special Economic Zone Bill 2013 into an Act of Parliament. I thank you very much.
Honorable Rousseau.
Honourable Deputy Chairperson, Minister Davies, and the potential economic benefits of the industrial development zone have been clearly outlined. A feasible study into the creation of Saldanha by IDZ estimates that the development could yield between 4,240 and 8,930 direct jobs over a 25-year period and add between 11.2 billion and 31.6 billion in yearly revenues to the regional economy. The report calculates that the total number of jobs that could be created at between 11,900 and 29,000. The Western Cape government believes that economic growth is a foundation of all successful development, and the role of the state is to create and maintain an enable environment for business and to provide demand-led private sector-driven support for growth sectors, industries and businesses. We have noted the World Bank study on special economic zones that find that private-led developments are more cost-effective and yield better economic results than state-owned variants. A clearly defined space should be created for the private sector to play a greater role in ownership of special economic zones to accelerate the economic impact as it is not addressed in the policy. The gist of the World Bank report is that the most significant contribution that special economic zones can make towards economic development as in a country is not the incentive mechanisms, but rather the creation of stable area with competent management, adequate infrastructure, and minimal red tape. The bill should spell out more clearly the linkages with the local economy and the involvement of surrounding municipalities in the special economic zone. It's further proposed that a section should be included in the bill that would safeguard against the drain of established businesses from the non-industrial development zone, industrial areas for special economic zones. In light of the bill's attempt to create a regulatory framework for the special economic zones and regulating the activities of the identified special economic zones, the following concerns should be considered in the development and implementation of any policy or bill that involves regulating the SEZs. Special economic zones are aimed at creating business hubs to foster economic growth. The industrializing of these special economic zones areas tend to be a threat to farming businesses as it can result in the takeaway of agricultural land. Provision should be made in the bill to regulate the process of acquiring land from farmers in the neighboring areas. The bill should also include a section on a set of criteria for selecting the locations of ZEZs. This can also help potential investors identifying special economic zone areas based on the specific requirements. It is important to note that the ZEZs are only a tool in the drive for greater economic growth. SEZs need to be accompanied by policy instruments that make the country as a whole attractive to investors and business developers. For example, if the infrastructure in special economic zone areas is not sufficiently integrated with the special economic zones and there is too much bureaucratic red tape, the effectiveness of this legislation generally can be hindered. The Western Cape supports this bill.
Honorable Adams.
Honorable Chairperson, compliments of the season to you and all the best for the new year. You've started the year off with a bang, looking very eloquent, just as we know you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the ANC Honourable Minister, sorry, Chairperson, Honourable Minister, Honourable members of the National Council of Provinces, compliments of the season, and I can see that it is really an election year. You all are looking so very eloquently, Chairperson, as I could look at the Honourable Mube, looking very eloquently, and the Honourable Mabe, eloquently. Chairperson, the ANC has characterized the second phase of our transition as one of deepening economic transformation to eradicate poverty, create full employment, and reduce inequality. Chairperson, the Special Economic Zone Bill is a bill that I think it's much needed. It's a bill that has shown that there is a political will in the Department of Trade and Industry being led by Honourable Dr. Minister Rob Davies, Director General Mr. Lionel October, and their staff. This is a bill, Chairperson, that is much needed in the space of eradicating and reducing inequality, eradicating poverty, and create employment. Now, I heard my colleague, the Honourable Chief Whip from the Western Cape, was saying, but Chairperson, the Western Cape was the first province which, to my astonishment, that said, we must push this thing through. This thing must go through. The Western Cape was the province when the minister went to make the announcement in Saldanha Bay. Honourable Rousseau, through you, Chairperson, was the MEC, Honourable Alan Windy, was so excited that he even spoke longer than the minister, and we had to cut him short. So excited was he. And he never mentioned in his speech on that day one thing about the DA. He said South Africa, not even the Western Cape government. He said South Africa. So, Chairperson, rightly as the President has said in the State of the Nation address, we've got a good story to tell. And this is part of the story that we are telling, that we are building on the suffering of the years that went by, the lives that were lost, the lives that were numbed and lumps. We can build on those suffering of the heroines, which yourself were part of that, Chairperson. All other members were part of it. Honourable Muntisi was part of it in 1976, and so can members themselves identify, which were part of that. Those sufferings, those lumps, those gunshots, those hiding in trenches, those hiding under beds, those hiding under, all over, sleeping in the bushes, go into exile. We can clearly say that this Special Economic Zone Bill was built on that triumph of those heroines and heroines that have suffered under the legacy of apartheid. Because, Chairperson, why? There was a political will. And, you know, as the Honourable Rousseau was saying, I want to say to her, Chairperson, through you, that in the ANC, the African National Congress, does not wake up one morning and then decides that must be there. The ANC has taken decisions going back since the conference in Limpopo, the conference in Mangaung, that economic transformation must happen. And we've got good cadres, good leaders that implements. And part of the implementation is the special economic zones. The ANC doesn't wake up and says, no, let us march to the house of the DA because there's no job creation. The ANC doesn't wake up one morning and soos hulle sê in Afrikaans, Chairperson, I want to say it in Afrikaans, 'n na-aap was nog nooit 'n aapie. Hy sê 'n goeie aapie, soos hulle sê. The ANC doesn't wake up one morning, go stand on a truck and toy. I was looking at some of the toy, the members, they can't even toy properly.
Honorable Faber.
Honourable Chair, I would just like to know if the Honourable Adams would take a question, please.
Put your question, Honourable Faber. Yes, Chair. You can put his question.
Proceed.
Yes, thanks, Honourable Chair. No, I was just not sure he was talking about when he was hiding under the beds. I just would like to know what he was hiding from. He was talking about it. I just want to make sure.
Chair, though, can I answer his question? We were hiding from the apartheid police like yourself, Honourable Faber. Apartheid police that were maiming our people, that went in with dogs and guns and all that. No respect for women, no respect for life. That's what we were hiding from. People like you that has killed people in South Africa, that has maimed people, took them to prison, tortured them. But despite through all that, the ANC has conquered. And the ANC will conquer, and the ANC shall conquer, and it will conquer until Jesus comes, Honourable Faber. Chairperson, I want to say that political will has taken over. The ANC is on a roll. We want to deliver to the people of South Africa what has been promised. Promises we are making, but promises as a government we are keeping. And I want to say that, Chair, the ANC supports the Special Economics Bill, Zones Bill, because why? It will create jobs. I don't know why the DA wanted to march to create jobs, because yeah, it is in black and white that we will create jobs. So this political grandstanding of them and playing on our people's mind and playing with our people's feeling and thinking that our people are stupid, it must come to an end. The days of thinking for the majority of black South Africans must come to a stop. I want to say to the DA, we can think, we can even outthink you, because we have done that to outthink you, and we are delivering. That is how we are outthinking you. Chairperson, this legislation, we can say today, it must really be recommended. The minister must be recommended, the department must be recommended. Our chairperson of the select committee, Honorable Gamede, our members of the select committee, even from the DA, they were very enthusiastic about this. The Western Cape, where I come from, which purportedly an island in South Africa, has also supported this. And I'm happy to hear that the Chief Whip of the province has supported this. So we want to thank everybody, even Mr. Sidwell Madupi, who's on our midst today, sitting in the gallery. We want to thank Minister. We know that a lot of work has gone into this, and we appreciate. And today, many young South Africans can today proudly say that the ANC has delivered with a special economic zone. Many business people, many poor people can today say that we are looking forward for the jobs that will be created. Not to march for jobs, but jobs that will be created through this legislation. I thank you.
I'll now call upon Honourable Davis. Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to all those who participated in the debate for, I think, the broad cross-party support that we've had for this piece of legislation. I just want to confirm a couple of particular projects that were mentioned in the debate. I did say in my input that there were 10 pre-feasibility studies, at least one per province, that were being undertaken now, so that we could get that much of a head start when the structure that is set up to take decisions meets. It will have work already before it on potential new SEZs, and they do include at least more than one, actually, mineral-based project of the sort that was described by MEC Rochelle in the northwest, and the Dubai trade port is also one of those that's under discussion as well. So we are moving, and it's a piece of work which we've tried to put in place so that we can shorten the time between the passage of the legislation that will permit these different types of special economic zones and the actual implementation. I do want to say, because there were a number of points. People are obviously, I think, all appreciative and quite excited at the potentiality that these zones will create. But I do think that there were a couple of points that I wanted to comment on. One of them made by Ms. Rousseau, where she said that management was as important as the incentives. And I want to agree with that, actually, because this is not a process where we're just looking for a hunt for incentives. Every part of the country is going to declare itself an SEZ merely for the purpose of gaining access to the different government incentives. If we go that route, we will lose the special in the special economic zones. The whole country would rapidly become a special economic zone. And it's for that reason that I think we've established a structure that will look carefully and strategically at this, because that's also one of the reasons why the bill will put in place new governance systems in the SEZ, so that we can actually make these SEZs work at that level. And I think that, for example, East London IDZ, one of the features in its turnaround, and it's gathered huge momentum in the last 5 years. It was languishing, I think, for some considerable time, and it's gathered a lot of momentum. And I think it's got a lot to do with the way in which the management of the East London IDZ is able to present itself and the value proposition to investors, not just in the automotive cluster, but also is now broadening its reach into other activities. So I think that the SEZs have to be special. They have to have additionality. I mean, I have heard people come to me and ask me whether we can't redraw borders so that existing businesses can be incorporated. And I think the answer has to be no. It's about additionality, new investments, new wealth creation. It's not about simply extending a set of incentives. I think there are some very important learnings that we can draw from other countries. I had the opportunity last year to visit one of the SEZs in Xiamen in China. And one of the features there was that they had a park of SMME and supplier development programs. And I think that's very critical, that supplier development, as we already mentioned, was part of this. They also had a park which was to do with research and innovation, drawing on the inputs of local universities. I think those are the kind of things that we can learn from other countries about how we construct our SEZs. I just wanted to say, and I think I already have covered this point, Mr. Sinclair said that we should not try to copy the saga of Achang and the DA in the rollout of the SEZs. I couldn't agree with him more. I couldn't agree with him more. I don't think we know the full detail of that saga, because there have been all kinds of stories in the newspapers, which I hope in the fullness of time we will get some comment from the players. Was there a dinner in London that was hosted by a certain individual who loves South Africa so much that he doesn't live here any longer, who loves his new adopted country so much that he doesn't pay any taxes there, and who loves peace and development so much that his biggest investment is in the security features of the Israeli-Palestinian wall? Is that the person who is calling the tune on this particular exercise? Is that the case or not? But I can assure everybody that we will not become tools and victims of special pleading. We will approach the rollout of SEZs strategically and developmentally in the interests of employment creation and the development of industries in this country. Thank you very much.
That concludes the debate. So I shall put the question that the bill be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow the provinces the opportunity to make their declaration, if they so wish. We shall now proceed to the voting on the question. I'll do this in alphabetical order. Heads of delegation will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain. Eastern Cape?
Cape votes in favor, Chair.
Free State?
Voted.
Gauteng?
Voted.
KZN?
Voting in favor, Chair.
Limpopo?
Asakatela.
Mpumalanga?
Siyayitsanza maki.
Northern Cape?
Voted.
Northwest? Northwest? Western Cape? May I have the penny? Northwest, may I please find out if you voted?
Yes, I did, Honorable Deputy.
We know, are you sure you voted according to the mandate?
Yes, I'm sure, Honorable Chair. I did press the button.
Okay. That's fine. Mistakes happen. Don't worry. So, it's the 9th. All provinces have voted in favor. The Secretary will read the second and third orders of the day.
Consideration of Electronic Communications Amendment Bill, B17B 2013, and consideration of Independent Communications Authority of South Africa Amendment Bill, B18B 2013, and of reports of Select Committee on Labour and Public Enterprises thereon.
I'll call upon Honorable Temba.
Sekela sihlalo. Make memela. Malunga alendlu lahloniphekile. Ngiyanibingelela entsambama namuhla. Manene manenekati. Eminyakeni lomusha nginifisela tilokotho letinhle. Deputy Chairperson, the Select Committee on Labour and Public Enterprises, having considered and made deliberations on the Electronic Communications Amendment Bill, B17B 2013, on 5th February 2014, wish to report as follows. The Electronic Communications Amendment Bill's main objectives is to align the Act with broad-based black economic empowerment initiatives and to refine licensing issues within the communications sector, as well as to provide the terms of appointment and duties of the Chief Executive Officer, including governance provisions for the Universal Service and Access Agency of South Africa, USASA. Deputy Chair, in line with the Digital Information Age, the bill makes further provision for the discounted rate at which internet services must be provided to schools, educational institutions, and public health establishments like hospitals. Despite the technical amendments to which the bill refers to in terms of alignment with BBEE and governance provisions of USASA and the appointment of the CEO, from a service delivery perspective, the bill intends to bridge the digital divide between those who afford and those who cannot afford the services of digital communication services. It has long been our government's priority to ensure that the advantages brought about by developments in the ICT sectors are utilized for the benefit of our people. And this cannot be more appropriate than reducing prices for such ICT services in the health system and education sector in general. Indeed, no one can dispute the important role ICT plays in advancing the agenda of socio-economic development of any country, including our own country. Deputy Chair, it is for these reasons that the bill received unanimous support from members of our committee, based on a common understanding that as a developing country, we can only change the lives of our people only if we make access to information communication technology services as easy as voting. Minor issues that were raised by stakeholders were thoroughly addressed during the deliberations, but overall all stakeholders understood the importance of the amendments proposed in the bill. This includes the provisions which point to a well-run organization with sound corporate governance principles. We support this proposed legislation with the best interest of our people at heart, insofar as the digital divide is being narrowed and our people are given access to ICT services to improve the conditions of our lives. We request the House to support this important piece of legislation. Deputy Chair, I now come to the Independent Communications of South Africa Amendment Bill, the Select Bill 18B 2013. Deputy Chair, the Select Committee on Labour and Public Enterprises, having considered and made deliberation on the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa Amendment Bill, on the 12th February 2014, wish to report as follows. The ICASA Amendment Bill's main objective is to provide further clarity on the powers and duties of ICASA and also to introduce mechanisms to ensure the accountability of ICASA and that of councillors. This also includes provision to confirm the use of electronic communication networks and services for the purpose of electronic transaction. Chair, key to the bill's amendments are provisions that are intended to make ICASA more transparent and also to ensure fairness within the broadcasting industry. For example, the bill proposes that the minutes of a council meeting should be published on ICASA's website and also made available in the authority's library within 30 days after the meeting is held. For industry's role players who are failing to comply with the broadcasting licensing condition, the bill makes provisions for a fine not exceeding 5,000 rands, depending on the merits of the case. Clearly, there are people in the broadcasting industry who are bent on undermining the rules of fair competition by either unlawfully leasing their license or violating their license conditions and thereby creating chaos in the industry. This bill, Bill 18B 2013, amongst other things, seeks to tighten these loose ends and to ensure that there's stability and order in the broadcasting industry as a show of commitment to the quality of its personnel, namely ICASA. The bill makes it a point that councillors should possess expertise and experience in the field of, amongst others, broadcasting, electronic communication and postal policy or operations, public policy development, electronic engineering, law, information technology, finance, or any other relevant expertise or qualifications. This is, of course, in line with the details and demands of the broadcasting industry that is part and parcel of the competitive global arena of which we as a country, we must always be on par. Chair, as a committee, when we deliberated on this bill, and as we always do, we gave it a fine-tooth comb. We came across one clause that we find concerning, to which we felt it is important issue that needs to be addressed, perhaps not only on this bill, but on all relevant legislations with similar connotations. Clause 7A of ICASA legislation, ICASA Amendment Bill, Bill 18B 2013, made reference to the National Assembly. And as a Select Committee on Labor and Public Enterprises, we found this to be inappropriate and preferred the word Parliament instead of the National Assembly. Since our concern, and if followed, would have had an impact on all related clauses and even other acts, we agreed to support the bill with the word National Assembly. We, however, put it on record that the matter needs to be appropriately addressed since Parliament is made up of two houses. Any exclusive reference to the National Assembly alone technically does not talk about Parliament as the South African Parliament. As the South African Parliament is a bicameral parliament, comprises of both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. This matter can be taken up in the 5th Parliament to correct this anomaly. Having said this, as the committee, we gave this bill our full support based on the understanding these amendments are intended to make ICASA Council more transparent and the broadcasting industry more stable for the benefit of South Africans. When we were voting on the bill in the committee, all parties supported the bill. But this afternoon, as I entered, the member of the DA approached me and told me they are not going to support the bill, but we support the bill and we request this House to also support this bill. I thank you so much.
That concludes the debate. Shall now put the question in respect of the second order. Question that the bill be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 63, I shall first allow political parties to make their declaration of vote if they so wish. We shall now proceed to the voting. On the question, members will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain. Voting will close. Could the table staff give me the results?
Against, I would have 34 because the only member didn't think so.
0.
We have to.
34 members have voted in favor, 1 against, no. We've been pre-warned anyway. I therefore declare the bill accepted. I'll now put the question in respect of the third order. Honorable Temba, please. We're going to be voting on the third one. Question is that the bill be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 63, I shall first allow political parties to make their declaration of vote. If they so wish, we shall now proceed to the voting on the question. Members will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain. Have all the members voted? Voting is closed. Table staff, may I have the results? Tallies. Yeah, tallies. 30 and 7.
Yes, 30 and 7 makes it 37.
And what is our number?
In the house.
Did you vote?
It was added.
30 have voted in favor, 7 against. No, I can't pose that question. Honorable members, is there a problem? We can, oh, fine, we can add 32. Okay, the 2 members can actually now declare in front of this House whether they voted in favor or abstained.
We voted in favor.
32. 32 have voted in favor, 7 against. I therefore declare the bill agreed to in terms of Section 75 of the Constitution. Secretary will read the 4th order of the day.
Report of Select Committee on Security and Constitutional Development. Draft notice and schedule submitted in terms of Section 2, Subsection 4 of Judges' Remuneration and Conditions of Employment Act 2001, Act number 47 of 2001, determining the rate at which salaries are payable to Constitutional Court judges and judges annually.
I shall now call upon Honorable Mufokeng. Mang. Matile.
Thank you, Deputy Chair.
I wasn't aware of the change.
Oh,
I'm
no,
sorry
sorry.
about that.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you, Deputy Chair. My understanding is that I'm dealing with both judges and magistrates at the same time. On the 11th February 2014, the Select Committee on Security and Constitutional Development received a briefing from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development in relation to the proposed increases in the salaries of respectively the magistrates and judges, as set out in the draft notice by the President that had to be approved by both Houses of Parliament. For this year, the recommendation that both magistrates and judges should effectively receive a 5% increase across the board, although a further adjustment was made in relation to magistrates, in that the pensionable portion of their packages was raised to 70% to bring this in line with other public service compared to the 60% it had been in the past. The committee recommends that the council approve the draft notices and schedules. I thank you, Chair.
That concludes the debate. I shall now put the question that the report be agreed to. Is there a problem? In accordance with Rule 71, I shall allow provinces the opportunity to make their declaration if they so wish. We shall now proceed to the voting on the question. I'll do this in alphabetical order per province. Heads of delegation will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain. Honorable member, is there a problem?
Not working.
Umshini wakhe awusebenzi baba nakho usuqalile. Fine. Don't worry. I'll now call on the provinces. Eastern Cape? Free State?
Voted.
Gauteng?
Voted.
KZN?
We vote, say support, Chair.
Limpopo? Mpumalanga?
Mage siyayitsanza.
Northern Cape?
Voted.
Northwest?
I think this time I must stand up, Honorable Deputy Chairperson, because whenever I voted, I'm called again. The Northwest voted in favor. Thank you, Chair.
Western Cape?
Western Cape. On order 4, in favor, Chairperson.
All 9 provinces have voted in favor. Secretary will read the 5th order of the day.
Consideration of report of Select Committee on Security and Constitutional Development. draft notice and schedule in terms of Section 12, subsection 3 of the Magistrate Act 1993, Act number 90, determining the rate at which salaries are payable to magistrates annually.
I'll call upon Honorable Matile.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. As I've already indicated that I dealt with both magistrates and judges, I therefore recommend that the magistrates must also receive an increase of 5%, and the committee has asked this House to approve that increment.
That concludes the debate. Shall now put the question. Question is that the report be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 71, I shall allow the provinces the opportunity to make that declaration if they so wish. We shall now proceed to the voting on the question. I'll do this in alphabetical order per province. Heads of delegation will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain. Eastern Cape? Free State?
Voted.
Gauteng?
Voted.
KZN?
Rekotenda, Chair.
Limpopo? Mpumalanga?
Segela.
Northern Cape?
Voted.
Northwest? Voted?
Honorable Deputy Chair, Northwest voted in favor of.
Thank you, ma'am. Western Cape?
In favor, Chair.
Nine provinces have voted in favor. I therefore declare the report agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. May I take this chance to say to our delegate from Northwest, it's because our machines at times don't work properly. Don't feel bad about it. That concludes the business of the day. Honorable members, you're requested to remain standing until the procession has left the house.